Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Today I'm going to show you how I make my pork apple Wellington. It sounds like a complicated dish, but it really is very simple and easy to make, and it's delicious. So I'm going to start first with the filling. Basically, you just need a Dutch oven. This is a tiny one. I love my Dutch ovens. They're so easy to clean and cook with. So what I got here is 4 apples. This is Cortland's that I used. They're fresh at the market. And I just cut them into small little bite-sized pieces. So that's going to go right into my pot. I'm going to turn this on low. And to this, I'm going to add half a stick of butter right in the pot. And then some flavorings. So this is cinnamon. I'm going to do a teaspoon of cinnamon. You can get to it. You don't have to be exact. And a teaspoon of vanilla. Love the smell of vanilla. And then I'm going to add some nutmeg. Nutmeg, I usually use the whole nutmeg. And what I do with that is I have a grater and I just grate it. So I'm going to use about maybe half of this right into the pot. This is the actual filling that I use for a lot of things, for my apple turnovers, actually my apple pies. And I find that if you cook the filling first and let it cook down a little bit, especially in pies, you won't have that space in between, where you have a big space between the crust and the pie. So that's a little bit of nutmeg. And then I'm going to add some brown sugar. One trick I do with the brown sugar, just so you know, is once you open your brown sugar in a plastic bag, it gets hot as a rock and then you can't use it for anything. So what I use is just a piece of stale bread, sandwich bread. Just put it in your pot, in your wherever you keep your brown sugar, and it stays nice and soft. So I'm going to use about 1/4 cup. Again, you don't have to be exact. Put that right in. And oops, there's a. Let's put that bread back in there. What you find is the bread gets very hard and the sugar stays soft. And some flour. This is about 2 tablespoons of flour. And then I'm just going to stir this around. Mix it all together. Just like that. And I'm just going to let that cook down. So it kind of looks like that. Okay, so I'm going to clean up some of this stuff here and I will be right back and I'll show you how we do the rest of it. Hey guys, welcome back. So I got the apple filling cooking on the stove and now I'm going to prepare the dough. So if you remember in the last episode, I showed you how I made the pie crusts, and this is the dough I'm going to use. If you don't want to make your own dough and you want to cheat, puff pastry works perfectly fine. So all you're going to do with this is chilled. I took it out of the fridge. Take a little bit of flour, put it right on my counter here. I'm fortunate that I have granite countertops so I can work right on them. If you don't, obviously, just a cutting board would be fine for this. So, a little bit of flour on the dough. This is a French rolling pin, tapered at the ends. So I flour that up a little bit, and I'm just going to roll this out. For this, instead of, since I'm not making a pie and I'm making a Wellington, I'm going to roll it into more of a rectangle. So, and again, don't be afraid of working with pie crusts and dough. If it falls apart, just put it back together and roll it again. It's not a big deal. So just roll this out. You're going to roll this out to a decent size. I'll show you in a second. And you don't want it too thick, but you don't want it too thin either. So roll that over. And if it starts to stick, just a little bit more flour. And like that. And again, you don't have to be too crazy about this. It doesn't have to be a perfect rectangle. As you can see, this isn't a perfect rectangle by any means. I'll cut it into one. And then I will use the dough to decorate the top. So this is down to about 1/4 of an inch, which is maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick. And that's about what I want. So I'm gonna get a little knife here. I have one. And with my ruler, I'm just going to cut this into a rectangle. Like that. Like that. And like that. And just like that. Perfect. And then this piece of dough is going to go right onto my baking sheet, which is basically a sheet pan. You can line it with parchment paper, you can grease it. I have Silpat, so basically similar. So now I'm going to put this dough aside to the side, and I'm going to keep those separate like that, those extra pieces. And I'm just going to roll out my other piece of dough so it'll be done and ready for me. I don't like to waste dough, so like even if I have extra at the end, I can make little cinnamon twists with it, and it's like a nice little snack you can have. So put this one down and do the same thing here. Just put that over. And you can see how nicely this dough works and spreads for you. Now this piece, you're going to want a little bit bigger because it's going to go over your tenderloin. So you're going to roll it out a little bit larger. Just rip that off. It's just about perfect. And again, like I said, if it comes apart, just piece it together. Piece it together because it just sticks, and just roll it. And just make it the way we want it. So this one I'm not going to cut right away because this is going to drape over my tenderloin, so I want a little bit extra to work with. So I'm just going to put this aside. And I'm going to grab my pan here. Yeah. This out of here and get some work here. So what I have here is 2 pork tenderloins. You can get, these are the ones you get in the market. They usually come together. This one is basically 1 tenderloin that was cut in half. And that's what I'm going to use for this dish. So basically just take it out, rinse it, trim off the fat, and then you're going to place it right onto the crust that you have here. Now this one's a little bit bigger, so I'm going to cut a couple pieces off of here. So I know exactly how big I want it. And so I know this one's going to be the same. So I cut that right about there. Good. So I'm going to take these 2 pieces, put it right on here, just like so. Okay. And you want space around the edge, obviously, because you want the other piece of pie crust to come on top. So now I'm going to season this. So basically a little bit of salt and pepper. So about a teaspoon of salt. You can measure if you want, but it's easy just to eyeball it. And a little bit of pepper. Just like that. And Next, this is herbs de Provence. So it's basically a mix of basil, parsley, rosemary, thyme. If you don't have any fresh, especially like this time of year, it's tough to find fresh herbs in the market. You can do the dry. And just kind of squeeze it to let the flavors out and sprinkle on top. Just like that. Perfect. And get this out of here. Now I did happen to have some fresh parsley in the greenhouse, so give this a rough chop. And this is going to go right on top. Now this is also how I make, if I'm not doing a puff pastry or a Wellington style, this is how I also just do my pork tenderloin. I just season it just like I showed you here, put it on a sheet pan and bake it in the oven at 375 for 20 minutes. Comes out perfect every time. You can also do it on the gas grill. So okay, so we got that in place. Now it's time for the filling. So this is the apple mixture that I had cooking. And all I'm going to do with this, it smells delicious, smells like apple pie, is I'm just going to spoon it right on top, just like so. And what's good here is it looks like I'm going to have some extra, so it looks like I'm going to be able to make some apple turnovers for breakfast and snacks. So that goes right on top. And then this one goes right on top, like that. A little bit messy, but just kind of work around it. There you go. Great. Now, perfect. Put that aside. And let me just clean my hands. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I'm going to take this other piece of dough and I'm going to gently put it right on the top. And then what I'm doing is forming it right around the Wellington and the apple crust. Now, as you can see, you have extra here. So what I'm going to do here is for the edges, I'm just going to roll them in and tuck them together. Spin this around and roll it in, tuck them together, just like that. Okay, and roll it in and tuck it together. And same on this side. Roll that in. And now I'm going to make a nice kind of crust, so I'm just going to pinch them together, just like so. And it's basically just like you're making an apple pie or a blueberry pie. You're just pinching the dough together, so that way it stays. And just go all the way around. Just like that. Perfect. Great. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside. And remember those extra pieces of dough that I had? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some cute little designs for the top. So with this, let's see, let's make it look like a present. So I take my rolling pin, and you can get creative with this if you want. Just roll this out to a little bit there, and I'm going to cut it into just a square here, like that. Great. And now you get a little bit of water. And I'm going to take my brush, my pastry brush, and I'm just going to brush the dough with the water, and that'll act like a glue. And then I'm just going to put that right across the top, just like that. Now, I think I'll make some leaves. Now the way I make my leaves basically is I just take a piece of dough and with a knife, very gently, I cut it into the shape of a leaf basically, which would look like that. And then with the top of the knife, you just make the ribs. So you just kind of make a slit here and then just don't cut all the way through it. Just go down, 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 down. I'm gonna make a couple of those. And again, this is just, you don't have to do this piece. I just had extra dough and I like to get creative in the kitchen. So, and I find this stuff very relaxing. Some people find it very stressful, but this is how I get my stress out. To each his own, I suppose. Anyway, so we go around like so. And I'm gonna make 4 leaves, I think. And so this is 3. And then I'm gonna stick them on there basically the same way I stuck that little ribbon. And let's see, here's another piece. So I'll use this one. Like that. Put that aside. And again, I'll make some fun stuff out of that. I might make an apple turnover because I have it left over. So do that, and that. Okay, so now just gonna brush the back of this and I'm gonna stick it right on there. So you can see, just like that. Brush the back of this. I'm gonna stick that right there. And the back of it. Stick that there. And the back of that. Stick that there. And finally, just so I get a nice crisp crust here, I'm gonna make an egg wash. So this is basically an egg. And all you do with that is you add a little bit of water. And with a fork, just beat it. And then with my pastry brush, I'm just gonna brush all over. And this is gonna give me a nice golden crust. It also helps keep the dough together. So just brush the entire thing. You can make this ahead of time, which is what I'm doing today. This is gonna be for dinner this evening, but I'm not gonna cook it right at the moment. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it in the fridge, and about an hour before I'm ready to eat, I'm gonna take it out so it comes to room temperature, and then I'll put it in the oven and bake it off. So, this is a nice Sunday dinner. It looks like it's fancy, but you saw how easy this was. It's, you know, nothing crazy, nothing. People think you slaved in the kitchen all day long, and you really didn't. Feeds about 6 to 8 people. By the time it's all said and done, you can serve it with mashed potatoes. This one I'm gonna make some garlic mash, and I think I have some broccoli, so I'm gonna use some broccoli tonight. So, and I'm just gonna finish this like that. And there you have it. So when you're ready to cook it, this goes into a 375-degree oven for about a half an hour till the pastry puffs and browns. If it's browning too fast and you're afraid it's gonna burn, just put a piece of aluminum foil over the top of it. And that's it, so enjoy. Now, since I have some extra dough here, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mush it together like so. You don't want to waste this all, right? So make it into this nice ball again. knead it together. And I'm gonna roll this out. And a little bit of flour. Just like so. And roll it out into, I think I'll do a rectangle, I guess. Or some sort of rectangle. Just like so. Looks like I'm going to be able to get a couple turnovers here, which is great. So all I'm going to do with this, I'm going to slice it down the middle. And again, you don't have to be fancy, right? So you get 2 pieces of dough. This is the leftover dough. This was my leftover pie filling, right? So I'm going to put a little bit here. Just like that. And fold it right over and crimp it. So, and again, you don't have to be fancy with this. It's just you in the kitchen, right? And oh, before I forget, with the pork Wellington, the other thing you want to do with that is just a couple slits with your knife on the top, like this, just to let the steam escape. And that way it won't fall apart on you. So don't forget that piece. Sorry about that. There. And then, there you go. Apple turnovers. Enjoy. Have